The atmosphere inside the airplane buzzed with life. Businessmen straightened their ties, families struggled with their carry-ons, and the hum of first-class luxury settled over the cabin. Among the passengers sat Barron Trump, the 17-year-old son of former President Donald Trump. Tall, polite, and reserved, he sank into his plush first-class window seat, casually flipping through the in-flight menu. Then, suddenly, a ripple of excitement swept through the plane. Heads turned, whispers filled the air. "It's Clint Eastwood." Barron's gaze lifted, his curiosity piqued. And there he was, the legendary actor, despite his 90-something years, walking into the cabin with that unmistakable presence. His weathered face, lined with the wisdom of decades, carried a quiet authority that demanded respect, without a single word. But there was something else, a faint weariness in his eyes. Barron watched as Clint's assistant spoke softly with a flight attendant, explaining a seating mix-up. First class was fully booked, and Clint had been bumped to coach. Barron didn't hesitate. Rising from his seat, he stepped forward. "Mr. Eastwood, please take my seat." "I insist." The actor paused, his sharp eyes studying Barron for a long moment. "Son." Clint's voice, gruff yet kind, carried the weight of years. "You sure about this?" But Barron had already made up his mind. Little did he know, this one act of kindness would alter both their lives forever. Clint eased into Barron's former seat, his weathered hands gripping the armrests. "You didn't have to do this, kid," he muttered, his voice a rare mix of gratitude and surprise. "I wanted to," Barron replied with a warm smile before heading toward the economy cabin. Passengers exchanged stunned glances. Many had recognized Barron. But this humble, selfless act caught everyone off guard. Even the flight attendants whispered among themselves in amazement. Meanwhile, Clint, usually known for his stoic nature, looked moved. As he reclined into the unexpected comfort of first class, he couldn't shake the thought, this kid had done something remarkable. Back in economy, Barron squeezed into a cramped middle seat, wedged between a talkative salesman and a wailing toddler. The atmosphere here was a world apart from first class, but Barron didn't seem to mind. He simply popped in his headphones, leaned back, and let the soft drone of the airplane lull him into relaxation. Up front, Clint couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. Pulling out a small notepad, a habit from years of filmmaking, he began scribbling down thoughts. Was this a new story? Something about the boy's generosity lingered, stirring emotions he hadn't felt in years. Neither of them knew it yet, but fate was quietly weaving their paths together. At 35,000 feet, an hour into the flight, it happened. The plane jolted, hard. Seatbelt signs flickered on as turbulence struck without warning. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Drinks spilled. Overhead bins rattled ominously. Barron braced himself, scanning the panicked faces around him. The toddler beside him wailed louder than ever. Up in first class, Clint's knuckles whitened as he gripped his seat. He wasn't a man easily shaken, but this felt different. More intense. More relentless. He glanced toward the back of the plane, a single thought in his mind. How is Barron holding up? Then it happened. A loud crack echoed through the aircraft as the lights flickered. The pilot's voice came over the intercom, steady yet tense. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing severe turbulence due to an unexpected storm system. Please remain calm and keep your seatbelts fastened." Passengers clung to their armrests, faces pale with fear. Clint's mind raced. He had seen plenty of storms in his lifetime, both in the sky and in life itself, but something about this one felt ominous. And then his thoughts drifted to the boy, the kid who had given up his seat, the one now sitting in the back, enduring the very same storm. At that moment, two lives, one at the peak of fame, the other just beginning his journey, hung precariously in the balance. The turbulence worsened. Every violent jolt of the plane seemed to echo in Barron's chest. Closing his eyes, he focused on steadying his breath. Around him, passengers murmured prayers. The once chatty salesman now sat in stunned silence, his knuckles gripping the armrest. Up front, Clint stared out the window, watching lightning flash through the clouds. His mind kept circling back to Barron. And suddenly he understood. For decades, Clint had played heroes on screen. But in reality, real courage came in the smallest acts. Finally, the turbulence subsided. A fragile calm settled over the plane. Unbuckling his seatbelt, Clint rose, his steps unsteady, as he made his way to economy. He found Barron sitting upright, eyes distant but calm. "Mind if I join you for a bit?" Clint asked, a small smile softening his rugged face. Barron blinked, surprised. Of course not. As Clint settled into the cramped space beside him, passengers stole curious glances. Clint Eastwood, a Hollywood legend, sitting in coach, deep in conversation with Barron Trump. For the next hour, they talked. Bridging two worlds. "Why'd you give up your seat?" Clint asked, leaning in slightly to hear over the hum of the plane. Barron shrugged. "It just felt like the right thing to do. You've given so much to the world, through your movies. I just wanted to give something back." Clint chuckled, shaking his head. "Never thought a seat could mean so much, huh?" Barron smiled. "It's not the seat. It's the gesture." Clint fell silent. His eyes reflected the weight of his years. People look at me and see someone who's done it all, but sometimes I wonder, did I make a difference where it really mattered? Barron tilted his head. "I think you have. You inspire people. Even now, sitting here, you're making an impact." Clint studied the young man, his expression softening. "You're wise beyond your years, kid." Passengers listened intently. This wasn't just a conversation, it was a connection. And neither of them knew just how far that connection would take them. But soon enough, the world would find out.